Here is how to analyze your counterparty's mind and psychology based on your own standards. Most people can only recognize what they sense in the conscious and do not understand how their mind operates to make them sense and recognize as they do. This mechanism applies to everyone, including you. However, once you accurately understand how human mind and psychology operate underneath what you can sense and recognize, you can minimize the occurrence of stress and wounds due to errors of psychological operations. How to analyze your counterpart's mind can be identically applied to analyze your own mind. Firstly, you can analyze your counterparty's dependency on sensory stimulations. Humans have sensory organs for 5 different types of stimulations, including vision, hearing, touch, smell, and taste, through which external information flows in for perception. Some people focus more on certain sensory stimulations among the 5. They may range from focusing on watching beautiful scenery to tasting good foods, and the possibilities of preferred stimulations are infinite. If some people put a high priority in life on experiencing positive stimulations through a specific sense among the 5, they are likely to have stress and wounds operate continuously inside themselves. When stress and wounds operate in mind, the unconscious attempts to recover psychological balance. The unconscious operates to perceive the opposite of stress and wounds and sense pleasure and satisfaction instead of negative emotions. That is, the unconscious operates to cover stress and wounds through positive sensory stimulations and sense comfort instead of pain. Therefore, the more stress and wounds you have, the more sensitive you become to positive stimulations. People who depend on and actively employ sensory stimulations tend to have many wounds and be sensitive to stress. When you develop strong dependency on and active employment of more than one type of sensory stimulations among 5, it indicates that you have even more stress and wounds operate inside you. It is a sign that you cannot be satisfied with activating only one type of sensory stimulation. When you are good at healing stress and wounds in a healthy way, you do not develop a strong desire for actively employing one particular sensory stimulation. It indicates that you can sense positive stimulations through sensory organs, but you have no desire for focusing on intense pleasure through a specific sensory stimulation. Secondly, you can analyze what genre of cultural activities your counterparty has preference for. Most people have preference for what they do not have, which is often referred to as desire. When people prefer books, movies, or music that promote psychological stability, it indicates that they do not have psychological stability. The unconscious operates in the opposite direction from the operation of the conscious, and you can analyze your counterparty's operation of mind when you analyze their preference. Your sensory organs are associated with your stress and wounds, and your hobbies and preferences with your desire. However, any activity or preference related with the pursuit of values such as occupation or education needs to be excluded in the analysis of the operation of mind. The analysis must address only emotional aspects to analyze one's operation of mind and psychology. You yourself cannot know in the conscious why you like and prefer a certain activity or genre, since the dependency or the preference is the result of the operation of the unconscious in and of itself. Thirdly, you can analyze your counterparty's meanings of life. Meanings of life are your feelings of love and happiness in human relationships. Meanings of life are more applicable in the analysis of women's psychology rather than men's psychology, since females operate feelings and moods, but males only operate moods. When women feel comfort and happiness in intimate relationships, they are considered to have meanings of life. When women have feelings of love and happiness in relationships, What they feel and have is not pleasure from positive sensory stimulations. It is rather continuous operation of positive emotions sensed inside them, regardless of sensory stimulations. When women are psychologically stable and feel comfort and happiness in an intimate relationship, it indicates that they have the object of their meaning of life. However, when they experience emotional conflicts and difficulties in the relationship, it indicates that they are in the process of losing meanings of life. Then, they continue to generate psychological wounds in the relationship. For example, when a mother experiences emotional conflicts and difficulties in the relationship with her children, she is considered to be losing the meaning of life toward her children. The mother would attempt to make diverse expressions inwardly and outwardly to restore her meaning of life, but her expressions become mostly negative since she is in negative emotions at present. When the condition continues and the mother loses the meaning of life toward her children completely, she becomes to depend on positive sensory stimulations in order to cover up her wounds. Fourthly, you can analyze your counterparty's values of life. When you know what values of life your counterparty pursues, you can understand what ideas he or she has. Meanings of life are achieved and obtained at present, but values of life are only pursued and worked for all your life, which means that they cannot be achieved at present by definition. Three different types of value pursuit are possible in human life: economic, relational, and social values. When you pursue values of life, it is hard to stop since you constantly feel that you have not achieved yet. The objective values of life are only materials or abstract entities, and human beings cannot be objective values of life. This mechanism explains the phenomenon where rich people may still work hard to accumulate more wealth since they feel they have not achieved their goal. When you feel that you have achieved what you have been pursuing, you usually go into two different directions. You may either pursue another value based on the achievement you have already made, or you become obsessed with and enslaved to the value you already have. The latter case usually happens to people who pursue values of life depending on other people. It is commonly said that even rich people can be unhappy. In such cases, they may be unhappy since they have become obsessed with and enslaved to materialistic achievement, which they already have. That is, they are unhappy because they are not able to transfer to pursuing another value based on their economic achievement, and they're just stuck in what they already have achieved. When people become enslaved to values of life, they desert the concept of being happy together with other people and only aim for expanding the value they have already achieved. Then, they are also considered to have lost happiness in relationships, and they only focus on positive sensory stimulations. It is hard to analyze your own mind and psychology since you can recognize only what is sensed in the conscious. It may be a little easier to analyze your counterparty's mind through objective observation. You just need to carefully observe your counterparty applying the underlying mechanisms described so far. When you want to analyze your own mind, you can ask others' opinions based on the 4 points of operation of human mind and psychology.